Well, man, I was looking at your doing a little research, and I was gonna say this Mick Mars thing I was thinking is probably the biggest opportunity you've ever had, but holy crap, man, your resume is full of big names and a lot of accomplishments, and I do want to get to as much as we can, but let's start with the gorilla in the room, the whole Mick Mars album. By the time this episode airs, the album will be out 5 days. So how did you meet Mick prior to being involved in this album?
So I was always a Motley fan growing up and all that, just like all of us are. And um, Paul Taylor was actually involved in it early on. Paul Taylor, the great songwriter, keyboardist, guitarist, extraordinaire.
Yeah.
The wizard.
Michael Wagner had, yeah,
Yeah.
Winger, yeah,
The
from
wizard. The wizard
Oh,
of
the
Winger.
wizard.
Yeah, he is the
Yeah,
wizard.
yeah. So Michael Wagner had brought him in to the project because Mick had been working on it forever. I think something like 5 years. He had gone through a bunch of singers, a bunch of different people trying to put it together, and I think he had gone through like 5 singers before me. And when Paul was asking him, well, what are you looking for? Paul called me and he said, "Man, Mick just described you." Like what he's looking for, like the voice and all of that. And I was like, all right, cool. And so I went to Mick's house and I met him and Michael Wagner there and Paul. And yeah, and we just kind of started writing and went from there, and it worked out. Just like everybody, when Mick first announced a solo thing, John Corabi was on board. I was just as excited as everybody else. It's like, oh my God, it's going to be another album like that Motley record, that self-titled Motley record. Yeah. And yeah, and for whatever reason that didn't come about, but yeah, man, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, and I was looking at the album because I was kind of curious to know how much of this was Mick basically handing out orders and how much of it was sort of a democracy. I know with Paul Taylor, of course, you've got an amazing musician and a great talent, and I think Mick would respect that. And you yourself bring a lot to the table. And so, looking at the credits, I realized that you're all over this record. So it sounds to me like Mick was pretty receptive to the ideas that the rest of you guys were bringing to the table. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely. Mick is like the king of riffs. Like he just has all these riffs, just loads and loads and loads of riffs, and they're all amazing. And he was playing some really heavy stuff that, kind of was reminiscent of that Motley record that I referenced, the one that Corabi's on. And some stuff even heavier than that. And yeah, so it was a lot of fun to collaborate on. But Paul, myself, and Mick, we all three of us wrote the record.
Yeah, that's amazing because a guy, a lot of people from the outside might think that, Mick Mars being the big name that he is, he's kind of calling all the shots and telling you guys what to do, and that's just the way it is. But it looks on the credits, at least, like very much a democracy. So was there any time when during the process when Mick was saying, whatever you do, don't do anything that sounds like Motley Crue, or was the field wide open? Is a good song is a good song kind of thing?
Before I ever stepped foot in his house, like I'd already heard that, he didn't want to do something that sounded like Motley Crue because he had done that for 41 years or however long it was. Man, he wanted to do something that was different, and it was a democracy as far as the songwriting goes and all of that. But make no mistake, it's Mick's record. Like he final call on everything, and some things he would be like no, and even if it was something that was like, oh man, this would be so cool. At the end of the day, you have to respect that it's his record, it's his vision. He's calling all the shots. He's, it's his thing, his project. We're just on board, and like I said, happy to be on it. Ray Luzier, the drummer for Korn's the drummer, and like that dude is just amazing. Like watching him do his drum tracks was just like next level. It's just amazing.
I love that I can sense that you have such a fan's enthusiasm for this, even after all your years and experience in the business. We have guests on the show a lot of times, and you can sense they're still every bit the fan, and they're still super eager to be part of it. They're not jaded or anything, and I can really feel that vibe coming off.
Yeah, if I may jump in and
Yeah.
say that's the vibe I've always gotten from this guy sitting with us today, and just, you know, I'll say it in front of you, Jacob. You're cool as ice, man. You've always been respectable and all that, and you're just nice to people, but you're also a fan who's just up in the middle of whatever you are, you know, whatever you about rock and roll that you fell in love with is the first thing that you want to talk about. And that's just a real fan. And I feel like that's why you and me and the Toys guys have always gotten along so well. Is from the day we met you, it was just, you were just easy peasy, just super easy to run into and hang for a bit. And it's almost like cut from the same cloth. There you go.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate you saying that, man, because you are obviously huge music fan. You know everything about every genre from thrash metal to rock to classic rock to like you name it, which I love. And it's like that's why we all got into it. It's just our love of music. You know, there's so many people out there that think that the reason that we get into music is all about pussy or something, and it's just not. Like it's about the music, and it's just such an amazing thing, man. It's like I grew up really poor with a single mom, and it's like music was the escape. Like watching the videos on MTV, listening to the radio, it's like that was the escape and that was the dream, and that's like, hey, I want to do that.
Yeah. I want to echo something Jason just said. And, you know, again, we've never met until today, but I do know that you seem to have a you're universally regarded as a really chill dude and a consummate professional. And I can understand why you've had some of the opportunities you've had if you've got that sort of reputation that just sort of precedes you. So good on you for taking it seriously and being a pro about it. And, you know, as long as you continue doing those things, these kinds of opportunities will come along.
For the record, I got into rock and roll before I knew what pussy was. So eat
Perfect.
Yeah.
Me
so it
too.
ain't about that. It's about the way that it made me feel when it went into my ears.
Yeah. And Jason, I don't know if I ever told you the story. I'm going to tell you on the show.
Okay.
One of my best friends that is a lifelong best friend. First day of school when I was a kid, I was nervous as hell. I just moved. I didn't know anybody. So I walked in, homeroom, the first subject or whatever at 9 o'clock in the morning, whatever it was. I don't remember if we did school at 8 or 9. I can't even remember. But I didn't know anybody. I was nervous as hell. I was like, man, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make friends here or whatever. One of my best friends this day is a guy named Jimmy Adler. He ended up being my guitar tech after we got record deals, and just always remained friends. When I walked into homeroom, I sat behind a guy, and I could read the back of his shirt, and it said "Sporting a Woody." And I was like, dude, you're a Toys man. He turned around and, you know, the big ass clown and everything. And so instantly I'd found my tribe. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was a guy wearing a Motorhead shirt for me.
Yeah.
The same situation. I just moved, and you know, you're looking for your people, and you don't know anybody, and it's day one, and you walk into the cafeteria or whatever, and there's one headbanger wearing a fucking Motorhead shirt. That's my people. Beeline right to it. never left. And Dave, I'm talking about Mike Solis, of course.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. So that situation, that's a classic story, and it's kind of something that we visit quite often on this podcast, is about how, how it's just something as silly as a concert t-shirt or a button on your jacket or a cap that you're wearing, or it could almost be the boots you walk in, where you're just going, damn, all right, I know this guy is into some same shit that I'm into.
Yeah.
It changes. The only level of fierceness that changes is how old you are at the time that story that it may apply. Because I went to a Catholic school in like 7th and 8th grade or something. I'm not Catholic, but so it was kind of this. You had to pay tuition to go. It was convenient. It was across the street from my house at the time, and there was not a dress code, but they wouldn't let me wear my KISS t-shirts, in which I had a plenty. I had one for every day of the fucking week, and they did not like me wearing KISS t-shirts to Catholic school. So my friends were far and few between, but the times that I did get away with wearing my KISS t-shirt collection, that's how I met the people that I still call friends today. So it's very similar. I appreciate you sharing me that. Jimmy still around?
Yeah. Jimmy's still around, man.
Hi, Jimmy. Shout out to Jimmy, man.
My oldest friend.
Awesome.
He's still sporting a Woody too.
Fuck yeah.
Cool.